Second half. After a miserable first half, the solutions and the answers were at the bench. We'll look at the Braga game. With the second place clinched, does Roger Schmidt now start looking at 24-25? That and much more in another night, another podcast. Epa.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero o manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer estádio e assustá-los, pá! É isso que eu quero!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Benfica podcast. My name is Alfredo Fumacic. Coming to you every Tuesday, Benfica podcast. There's 3 games left in the season. No, 3 or 2? 3 games. 3 games left in the season, and then the suffering will be over. We're all anxiously awaiting. You know who else is anxiously awaiting to say something? Cristiano Oliveira. Como é que é, Cristiano?
Never, man. I'm always short for words. I'm never anxious to talk. What's going on, my friends? Another night, another podcast.
That's right.
Hello to all the Freddies. Welcome. Carreguem no like button. All that good stuff.
Yeah. Let us know how the sound is.
How we sound.
Yeah, because we had a couple things that we needed to adjust here. We wanted to make sure that we're coming on live. Dave is also here, live, in person, in the flesh. What's happening, Dave?
Live and in color. What's going on here, Freddy's? Good to be back, Alfredo and Cristiano. Three more of these, or 3 or 4, depending if we got to do one of those keep, buy, sell, loan. The good old shenanigans.
I might just call HR and request the next 3 weeks off until
more. I think you ran off.
Keep, sell, loan.
You ran out of the time off, bro. You gotta.
That's why he's gonna call HR. He's gonna ask for more.
You gonna put in for FMLA?
I've been getting the Roger Schmidt treatment. I do good on podcasts and then I get sacked. You bench me for the next couple of weeks, like Roger Schmidt does with the players.
Or give them extra rest.
Yeah, please.
Or go sleep at home on the day of the game or on the night before the game. Always works well. You guys know how that goes. But anyway, here we are. Want to say hello to all the Freddies, and I'll say hello. Melo, Kevin, Diogo Reis, Jason Gaidola, Bruno Gil Rodrigues, Boris Negra Roça, Manny Valadão, Cristiano Oliveira. You know, the usual suspects. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for being active on the chat. And it's almost over, my friends. It's almost over. 526 is what we're up to. And on tonight's podcast, we'll look back at the Braga game. We'll look ahead to Famalicao. And we got a couple of the topics that we want to discuss. I think that probably a couple of brief words in terms of the elections up north, because it's something that I feel that it's going to directly influence Benfica, perhaps not on a short term, but within, let's say, probably 2-3 years. I think that this is a club up north that we need to be very careful of. In a good sense, not in the sense of what we saw with Pinto Costa, but certainly in other ways. We'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do that, let's if you haven't hit the like button, you're watching this, or whether you're in a chat or not, make sure you hit the like button. Cristiano likes. He likes likes. Let's get it right into this Braga game. Trubin was in goal. Bas Silva também de Nausnes. Tino, João Mário in the midfield. Di Maria, Neres on the wings. Rafa underneath Cabral. Cabral finally got the start. João Neves, as a result of that banging heads that he had in the game in the prior week, was not 100% to play, even though that he was on the bench, but he did not play. Miserable first half by Benfica, 1-0 by Braga in the 28th minute by Horta. Otamendi on a play where he went with everything and he went for broke and the ball just got poked away from him and there he was. A couple chances, one by Cabral, one by Auschnitz in the first half, but other than that, not much more that we did in a first half. A couple defensive lapses, and I think the team did hear some whistles going into the locker room. Cristiano, I know that you didn't watch the first half, and good for you for not watching the first half, but certainly the decisions and the answers were in the bench. 52nd minute, Carreras came in from Ba, who had picked up looks like a muscle injury, hamstring perhaps. 70th minute, Kokshu for Rafa, Leonardo for Cabral, and Dave losing 1-0. You kind of figured that he maybe would throw a second forward up there, but certainly we haven't seen him play with two forwards all season. It's not a plan that he has, but certainly Marcos Leonardo, actually Kokshu and Leonardo made the difference.
The super sub.
Super subs.
The kid. All he does is score when he comes off the bench here. So yeah, I think you were a little bit hard on the first half. There we came out strong, I'd say, in the first 10-15 minutes trying to get that goal, and then Otamendi, like you said, all or nothing challenge where most of the time this season he's been missing those one-on-one battles, and Braga makes us pay because other than that, though we weren't scoring, Braga really wasn't giving us much of a test either going forward in that first half. But when you're going down 1-0 at halftime, it's always it's not the position you want to be, but definitely a much better second half with once the substitutions were made. I think we all here want to see more from Carreras. It's unfortunate that it comes as a result of a Ba injury, which he's probably done for the rest of the season now. But always good to get to see how he can integrate into this year. And like you said, we've already got an eye for next season. So let's see with these next 3 games what he can bring going forward, working with these starting 11.
Yeah. No, well, if there is a next year for Roger Schmidt, we're all wondering that. I think everybody's wondering that, but I think that I've been a lot further or more convinced that he was going to leave before than I am today. I'm convinced that he's going to stick with that Rui Costa is going to stick with Roger Schmidt. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but certainly there hasn't been much conversation from that side. Many reports coming from Stadio Luz. So 71st minute, Leonardo with a typical forward goal, scrappy, just in the right spot at the right time. And I think that the kid has a knack for this. He has he can fire shots pretty easy, doesn't need a lot of time and a lot of room to fire shots. I think that we've seen that. In the 85th minute, 2-1, Neres off of a Di Maria cross, Neres with his head. Then in 90 plus, 3-1 by Leonardo, another scrappy play where he's fighting defenders and he ends up making some room for himself and getting a shot off. And the 90 plus 7, the customary subs, Gouveia in for Neres and Rollheiser in for Di Maria. And that's pretty much the story of the game. I think that when Roger Schmidt started making the subs, which is something that we always cry for and we always clamor for, things happen. I'm surprised that he put Rafa on the bench. Cristiano, I know that you watched the second half. What did you think of the second half?
Nothing. I didn't know what to expect. I'm just at the moment. I'm just sitting there watching the game, just because obviously I can't stay away. I said, let me check this out. And obviously, when what's his name, Marcus Leonardo came in, it was a pleasant surprise. But I, touching back on what you said a few minutes ago, when you said we haven't seen him play with two strikers, and again, that was a moment where I thought maybe now that this guy's got nothing to lose, he might change things up. We might see Leonardo up top with Cabral, but no, he chooses to stick to his guns. The guy is gonna go down. He's gonna
Yep.
the ship is gonna go down the way that the dude knows how to run things. He's gonna stick with it. Um, but look, to his credit, right? Marcus Leonardo comes in and turns the game around for Benfica. Benfica obviously got the 3 points to try to put a little bit more pressure on our neighbors across town. I thought for a second that Roger was sabotaging this just to try to keep Braga ahead of Porto, to give Braga the spot in the Europa League next year ahead of Porto. But Marcos Leonardo, if that was indeed his intentions, Marcos Leonardo threw a wrench in it and messed up his plan.
Yeah, I don't know. I think none of us know what to think anymore in terms of the decisions that are made by Roger Schmidt. Certainly, there's a lot of head scratchers there. Look, I'm glad that the substitutions worked, and at the end of the day, he ends up proving or the fans right, because we're always asking for these substitutions. We're asking for Rafa, who's been basically dragging himself through the pitch these past couple months or so, and we're always saying, take the guy out, put somebody else that could give some energy to this and some intensity, and that clearly wants to play, because right now, if you look at Rafa's body language, he's anywhere but at Stadio Lelouch.
Yeah, Alfredo, let me jump
Yeah,
in
go
real
ahead.
quick. And I think I mentioned here on the pod, I might have done it like silently, not as loud as I normally am, with just a comment of like Rafa staying. Um, and now it's been months, and I think Rafa's body language says otherwise. So I'll touch on it, which was I heard a while ago, a couple months ago. I heard that it was a matter of time before it would get announced that Rafa um had indeed re-signed and come to a deal with Benfica, that they're waiting to announce it. But based on the way he's played and just his attitude on the field, and like you said, his body language, it's like, man, is this dude really checked out yet? I mean, I don't think he's he's like what's the word? O gajo está no estádio da luz, mas não está lá. You get what I'm saying? Está lá o corpo, mas a alma não está. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
The dude just looks like totally different player. I read something along the lines that he hasn't scored a goal in like 2 months,
No, he
and
just
we've said
he
it.
scored against Toulouse.
Marseille. Marseille.
Okay, maybe in the league. Okay, maybe in the league. Then I saw something like that. And the crazy thing is that for years we've said here on this podcast that Rafa has all the tools. When he's on, the dude's unplayable in the Portuguese league, guys. Let's keep all this in context. In the Portuguese league, he looks unstoppable. But then there's other times where the guy just absolutely a shell of himself. He is not the player that we have grown accustomed to. And I think this year, in these last couple of months, I think he's actually been worse than in years past, if that's even
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, I think that there was one point that he may have been beginning of the season. There was a period that he was playing okay, and I thought that, okay, here we go. There's a guy playing for a contract. We're gonna give him as a renewal. He's gonna shit the bed after the renewal, but certainly it doesn't look like Benfica has moved forward with the renewal. I don't know what Rafa is asking for, what kind of money. But I think that the difference between him staying and going has to be the money that he's asking for, because at his age, he's looking for another nice contract, so that he could shore up his life. And I'm sure these guys have no short. They're not short on money, obviously, but if they could bring another few million, I think they'll be happy. But we kind of look at, and it's almost like, I don't know if you guys remember at the time that there was that whole thing with the national team and Rafa, that he scored that goal like from behind midfield. He dribbled a couple guys
Yeah.
and he scored, and he ended
Mm-hmm.
up not celebrating. It's just this petulant little kid almost that is annoyed by things that happen, and he really doesn't do a very good job in just hiding his feelings. And I don't know if he does that because he's looking for attention, or he really wants to send a message saying, "Hey, I'm not happy where I am." But the truth of the matter is that Rafa's been garbage for the past
He, he
3 months.
he looks like a guy that pays attention to his social media.
You think so?
I mean, because like you said, he acts like
Yeah,
a petulant little
yeah,
child. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like my man pays attention to social media, and he listens to Alfredo on the podcast say that dude's been garbage, and then he goes on the field, scores a fabulous goal, and doesn't even celebrate. So yeah, it seems to me someone that's sitting on the toilet on his phone, searching Rafa, and so
and answering the critics, or just reading the
no,
criticism,
just reading the comments,
just soaking it all in,
yeah.
soaking
He's
it
no
all in.
Kevin Durant. He's no Kevin Durant where he had his what was it, Dave?
The
Right when he
burner
had his own
account.
the burner account. That's what it is. He's no Kevin Durant. He just reads it,
He had a burner
keeps it to
account.
himself. Yeah, he'd go and argue for his sake, for his own defense,
I
with a
didn't-
different account. And then I think he tweeted out of his account too, like
oh
he fucked
no!
up. Yeah, so yeah, something like that. Right, Dave? Something
Yep,
along those
yep.
lines.
You
Yeah,
got
yeah,
that
something
right.
like that.
Cristiano, I remember those days when one time you tweeted off the Benfica podcast account something that was supposed to be from your account. You remember that or no? Or was it me that did that? It's one of us. One of us did that.
I wouldn't be surprised if I did, but anything I'll say on my account, I have no problem saying on the Benfica podcast account. So I
That's
don't
true.
think,
That's true. So it could have.
yeah, you know what I'm
It could
saying?
have been. It could
So
have been
like,
me. I don't know.
yeah,
It was a while ago. Who cares? But yeah. So we have to contend with Rafa. Um, and which leads me to our next topic, and I'd like to get your both of you guys' opinion, right? Because we've clinched second place. So at worst, we're going to be playing a playoff game to get directly into the group stages of the Champions League. At best, Leverkusen wins the Europa League, and we end up going directly into the Champions League. But Cristiano, is it time for Roger Schmidt to start giving minutes to these kids on a bench, thinking already about next season, especially because it's been a long season. A lot of the guys have played a lots and lots of games. What do you think?
look, I agree with you, but not for the reasons you think.
No?
No, I agree that he should give the kids um some minutes, but only for the sake of experience. That's it. Because these games, I'm not going to see anything in these remaining three games that is going to convince me that X, Y, and Z deserve an opportunity or deserve a shot on the team based on these three games with no pressure, with nothing to play for. That to me is not convincing enough. And so, yeah, the kids should play because if they are going to be a part of the team next year, we want them to have experienced this already. So, they knock the rust off. But that's the only reason, not because I need to see, Carreras or whomever. Oh my God, in this low pressure game with nothing to gain, let's see. Oh my God, he plays great. I mean, we've seen that from countless players for years that with nothing to play, with no pressure on their shoulders, they look like phenoms. And then when all the marbles are on the table, they shit their pants. So to me, it's just a matter of rotating and giving kids an experience. That's it.
Yeah, but wouldn't even despite not having pressure, wouldn't it be something for them to acclimate with the
To
stadium?
a Yeah, that's what I just said. But that's what I'm saying for the
Yeah.
experience, Alfred. When I say experience, I don't mean the experience of going to Dorney Park. I'm saying the experience, like they're playing, and you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like they get to play, they get to
Yeah.
acclimate, they get to be in the big stage, they get to play in front of a sold out Stade de Luz, hopefully, stuff like that. But to me, if you're gonna make decisions based on these 3 games in terms of who earns a roster spot next year or not, man, you're doing it all wrong. In my opinion.
Dave, what about you, man? What are your thoughts?
I agree. There's just what else is there to play for? Might as well see what some of these players have to offer. I know Cristiano is saying it doesn't make or break a player's report card or judgment on a player based on these next three games. I agree, but it's always good to see what some of these players who haven't been counted on this season can bring to the table. And there's nothing else to play for, so might as well experiment and see what some of these guys offer.
Yeah. I'm keeping an eye on the chat, and there's a conversation obviously right now about Di Maria. In my opinion, of Di Maria is that he was very
Alfredo,
good.
peraí,
Fala, fala.
Alfredo. If you're gonna mention that, read off a few comments. So, because obviously a lot of people that are not on the chat that are driving or cooking or exercising or whatever it is they're doing, and you know what I mean. They don't know what you're referring to. So read off some of the comments so people have an idea.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful idea.
I know that's what I do. I see me and Dave don't have to talk.
Emelo saying Rafa. I'm just gonna read them down. Emelo saying Rafa has moments, but that is it. He could go. Boris is saying several players are finished. Rafa, Otamendi, João Mario, Di Maria, and Tankstead not good enough. Kevin is saying, yep, time for new blood and hopefully more consistency. Jason Gaidolan is saying, is Rafa a bit of a depressive case? Kevin is questioning why Boris wants Di Maria out. Diogo Rey says, the more I think about this, the more I believe Roger Schmidt will be back. Yeah, I am of the same opinion. This is Rui's mandate. Has been planning for next season over a year ago with sales while waiting to cleanse the roster.
Toronto scored an overtime goal. They won the game.
Yeah.
Go ahead, continue.
Bruno Gil Rodriguez is saying, I think Di Maria is still very important. Kevin saying Di Maria could still ball, just needs less minutes, 67 minutes max. Di Maria will stay for another season. Boris says the guy loses more balls than all castratos in history combined. If Benfica get to 85 points, it will be the first time we don't win the league with that point tally. Kevin saying Di Maria has 8 goals, 10 assists, still a big factor on the field. Boris, Di Maria plays 100 minutes per match because it's him in charge, not Roger Schmidt. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. My thing on Di Maria is that he's still an extremely important player, but I think that he needs to be managed properly. He can't be playing, like Kevin says, he can't be playing 90 minutes a game.
Every player wants to play every minute.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But
it's up to you, the manager, to make those decisions. At the end of the day, you call the shots. That's why you get paid.
Yeah.
And look, I'm gonna do something that I did not anticipate. I did not anticipate doing this coming into today's podcast, right? And you might have a lot of reasons, and I'm not saying you're crazy or not. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. Just putting it out there. There's a lot that you can point at Rui Costa. There's a lot of things you could throw at him. But I honestly think that if you think that this season is on Rui Costa, I think you're shot. This season is all on the coach. Rui Costa, in spite of there being, a lack of depth at left back and bad decisions, I think Rui Costa, when he did his State of the Union address in September after the window closed, Alfredo, you guys pull back the tape. I came on here and I said, bro, it seems to me that Rui's wiping his hands clean and he's putting it all on the coach. Because every single player that he talked about, every addition to this Benfica roster in the summer, he said, oh, the coach wanted it. The coach, right, Alfredo? You recall me telling you that?
Mm-hmm.
He just kept saying, oh, this is a request of the coaching staff.
He did say that.
And the coach. But again, despite there being failures at left back and even at right back, and and whatnot. Which I'm not saying there haven't been bad decisions made along the way. There absolutely have been bad decisions made. But that being said, I still think this roster was good enough to win this campeonato. Think about all the things that went wrong for us and all the things that went perfect for Sporting. And we're sitting here, what is it? We're 4 points or 5 points behind.
5.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it was about some bad results against Farense and against this team and against that in games that we all felt that Benfica could have been managed properly. I know you want to harp on Di Maria, but I mean, if you think Di Maria is the problem, then
No.
and I don't know what to tell you.
No.
I mean, the Di Maria is still a fabulous player, a big difference maker on this Benfica team. Yeah, he loses the ball, but again, as you said, Alfredo, he needs to be managed properly. I think Roger Schmidt needs to do a better job managing his minutes. If you recall back in the summer when we signed him, I believe on one of our first podcasts, I said the same thing. We all agreed that look, Di Maria managed properly, I think he'll be phenomenal.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to play against the Shabs of the world. He doesn't have to go to Gil Vicente. He doesn't have to go to freaking Azores. You remember? But no, he's played practically every single game.
Yeah.
I remember he played, and again, guys, don't tell me this is Di Maria. He played a game in La Paz, Bolivia, and then less than 48 hours later, he's playing and played 86 minutes for Benfica.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you want this player because he's ultra important. You want to play him, fine. But there's no reason why he shouldn't be out of the game by the 60th minute.
Right.
Why is he dragging on? Why is he playing into the 86th minute? And look, and to be fair, if you want to defend that, I believe if you go back and look at some of the games, Di Maria has made key contributions to this team and turned results past the 80th minute. So, I mean, obviously that argument can be made, but I think for the most part, his numbers and his minutes, not his numbers, but his minutes, needed to be managed. I think Roger Schmidt's done a poor job with this team. Like I said, Rui Costa gave him enough to win this campeonato.
Yeah, Chris, it does seem like that. And if anybody watched that interview, and Rui Costa gave an interview to BTV after the summer transfer window closed, after the winter transfer closed, and he did mention that every player that the coach asked for, the coach got. So that's in Rui Costa's defense, right? With the Di Maria, look, as Cristiano mentioned, high altitude in La Paz, travel across the Atlantic, and he's playing almost a full game the next game. I don't have a problem with Di Maria playing 90 minutes, but he doesn't need to play all 34 games in the league. He doesn't. He doesn't need to play. And if he's
Real
managed
quick,
properly,
Alfredo,
go ahead.
Boris, I just want to throw that in. You can get back in. Boris says Roger Schmidt took him off against Boavista and Di Maria was not happy at all. Again, guys, hey, Boris, I love you, appreciate you, man. Thanks all the credit. Smash the like button. But I mean, Boris, you should be upset when a guy gets subbed off and he's happy. That's when we Benfica should be upset. Not when a guy gets pulled off and he's unhappy. Because every single player has a competitive streak. They all want to play. Yeah. So, hey, look, he gets mad. So what? Who doesn't? If you're happy to get subbed off, I don't want you on my team.
Players are competitive animals by nature. Every player, there isn't one player that I've ever known that wants to be taken out of a game, unless he can't take it, he can't do it anymore. He's in a lot of pain, doesn't have any more legs. I understand that, but no player. I think that and if we look back at the whole thing and how it played out, I think that the media took the story and kind of ran and painted a narrative that now Di Maria is in charge. Di Maria is the one that tells Roger Schmidt how many minutes he's going to play. No, I don't think that's it at all. I don't think that's it at all. Regardless of Di Maria's status and how far he's gotten in his career and the pull that he has in the locker room, I don't think that Di Maria would come to Benfica the way he did, and now he controls Roger Schmidt. I just think that Roger Schmidt managed the squad poorly. And Di Maria wasn't the only case. There was several cases in the squad that he managed poorly. Rafa is another.
Yeah,
one.
I don't think him and Cabral talk. But look, give if it is true what Boris is saying, give Di Maria credit, right? Because he got subbed off, he wasn't happy, but he stayed. Cristiano Ronaldo got subbed off and he wound up in freaking Dubai. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, but I just think that he was poorly managed. There's no and look, I think if you guys go back and just look at the goals that Di Maria scored this season, the assists that he's had this season. I mean, he's had phenomenal plays that, as Cristiano mentioned, bailed us out of a lot of games. He was a determining factor in quite a few games for Benfica. Um, I does he lose balls? He loses a lot of balls, but that's the type of player he is. He's the player that's going to take risks, that's going to look for the risky pass, that's going to look for the risky dribble, and a lot of times the losing balls also comes at a time that he's exhausted, that he can't really move
But when
anymore.
we signed him, that's who he was.
Right.
That's who he's been his whole
No
career.
different.
So would you think? Would you think all of a sudden you were going to get an arsonist out of Di Maria? That's what you thought when you signed him?
Yeah, for me,
that doesn't happen.
Yeah, for me, if there's a choice, Di Maria stays. Today on the papers, it was mentioned in the papers, and I don't know who reported it, but Di Maria had said no to both Rosario and River.
Yeah. Listen, all you got to do, and I know some of you guys in the chat or some of you guys listening, the day after or a week, whenever the hell it is that you're listening, appreciate you guys, by the way. But you might be sitting there thinking, man, all these guys do is knock Roger Schmidt, and everything's Roger Schmidt's fault. But it's at the end of the day, it's the play. Look, all you got to do, and I think I played this game last week. I tried playing this game last week here on the podcast, and I'll try it again this week. You guys at home, and I suggest you play along, right? Just ask yourself, okay? Right, the jingle's going on in the back. Let's play a game. Ask yourself, taking away João Neves, forget João Neves exists. What player on this team is playing above his weight? Name me one. One guy that has had a better year than you anticipated coming into the year.
Not consistently.
No, of course, consistently. You can't have a 10-minute spurt. I'm talking about throughout. I mean, we're 3 games from the end. I mean, when are we going to make it? Because, yeah, it's right the whole season.
Yeah, we can mention perhaps Antonio Silva, but Antonio Silva has had periods.
Antonio Silva's he's not been better than he was last year.
He's had periods.
No, Antonio Silva's been bad. He's had moments, and he's had really bad moments as well.
Otamendi.
There's only one other guy.
Who's that?
That's sad, and again,
Tino.
You know how I feel about him, but no, not even Tino. What's his name? Alson. Because the guy's been adapted at every position possible, and he's played well everywhere. You know what I mean? He hasn't been look. He's had moments, right? He's had the goal, I think, against Marseille was definitely look. He doesn't know how to defend, but whatever. But the guy's done well, right? He's not been poor. And he's played out of position for most of the year and stuff like that. But in my opinion, that's really it. Dino's had his ups and downs. The second half, he's been strong.
Well, he hasn't played consistently either.
No, but it's exact. Second half, he's played more consistent. He's been better.
Yeah.
But
good.
Otamendi's had his bad. I'm sorry, Alfredo. I thought you. Otamendi's had his ups and downs. Otamendi's been bad, and he's been real good. So again, is Otamendi again? Is he playing better than what you expected coming into the year? That's the question, Alfredo. Are you playing better than what we all expected you to play? There's nobody playing above their weight, bro.
Yeah.
With the exception of João Neves.
Yep.
Every single player you could go up and down that lineup, and they've all had their moments throughout the season. Trubin was phenomenal, just like he was bad at moments. Okay? Maz had his good moments. He's had his really bad moments. Bum-ass Thinkstad had a good moment against Sporting. That was about it. But this highlight reel is very short. But, yeah I mean, that's the question. How many of these guys?
I mean, even, I guess maybe Trubin also, but Trubin has had some shaky moments too during the season. He was really good in the beginning of the season, and then when we saw the team hit a really bad patch mentally, I think that Trubin just caught whatever the team was having, and there was some really shaky moments. And I don't know, I think we've heard of Roger Schmidt saying, the team got whistled off against Marseille at Stade de Luge, and you sent us away to Marseille with that feeling. Certainly the players feel the atmosphere and what's coming from the stands, right? But I think that at the end of the day, and regardless of whether you could say there was only one guy punching above his weight, when you look at this team and the way this team performed, I don't think you could point a finger at the players in terms of entrega or uh, intensity or wanting to
Well,
play,
you
wanting
could,
to give
Alfredo.
all. Well, maybe to
You
Rafa.
could. Okay, I was gonna say you could to some guys.
Maybe
You
Rafa,
could.
but
Okay.
in general, I think that the team is always when they've come out, they've always put a generous, sincere, genuine effort. There's been times that this team screams for help from Roger Schmidt from the bench, and he can't do anything to help this team out of the bench, off the bench. He just can't. He can't do it. So the team has struggled. The players have struggled as a result of Roger Schmidt's stubbornness. And, this is not a beat on Roger Schmidt podcast, but you guys already know how we feel about Roger Schmidt. But
And do me a favor,
yeah,
Alfredo. Don't
voila,
ever.
Duzla.
I think it's 2 weeks in a row, and I love you. You know I love you dearly. But it's 2 weeks in a row you mentioned this on a pod. Don't ever mention that around me again, okay? Please.
What?
Don't ever mention that. They whistle the players. Don't ever mention. I know it wasn't
I'm
you
not.
saying.
I'm
I know it
just
was Roger
stating the
Schmidt.
facts.
I know, but don't ever mention that
It's
because I know
ridiculous.
even Rui Costa listening to that is probably rolling his eyes. I mean, come on, give me a break.
It's ridiculous.
Bro. I mean, come on, bro. Look. If you don't want to fire the guy for anything, for no other reason, that reason alone should be fireable. That's it.
Yeah.
Should fire him for that.
Like I said, players get paid a lot of money. They have a lot of support, both technically and mentally. Players that play at this level have to be prepared to be criticized. Have to be.
You go to third division. They don't make no money in third division, and they get booed and they get criticized. Alfredo, you ref little kids. They get booed and they get criticized. Come on,
Yeah,
bro.
no. Look.
Oh my, the feelings got hurt.
Yeah,
oh.
but Otamendi, when he came back from Christmas vacation, that extended Christmas vacation that he had, or New Year's vacation, whatever it was, wasn't the same after that. Dropped off.
Never been the same.
Dropped off quite a bit. Has had some good games. Has had some bad games. Has had bad decisions, good decisions. He's obviously the captain. I know that Hugo is pretty high on him. But let's look at things the way they are, and the facts are there. Got beat against Porto. Now gets beat against Braga, and he's had some mistakes. So, what I'm saying,
who gets beat against Braga? Who gets beat
Otamendi on the
Otamendi.
Braga.
Oh, Otamendi.
You didn't watch
I
the
didn't
first
know.
half.
Yeah.
He goes all out for broke on a tackle, and the guy just pokes it right past him, and he got beat easy. But what I wanted to say is that Roger Schmidt has not helped this team, and I think that when you look at this team and you look at the quality of this team, poorly managed, and it really Roger Schmidt didn't do any favors to these guys and to this team and to the club. I think, but I do think that he's going to stay. Dave,
I think that real quick. I think if the Sausage keep putting the pressure he's on, I think something's got to give. I think Rui Costa is not going to want to have this on his shoulders.
Well, yeah.
I think there's 1 year before election. I mentioned last week. There's 1 year before they go back to election. He cannot have this blow up on his face. You can't. Like can't go into next season and now we're sitting in October, November down 6 points. It's just he's not going to do that, Alfredo. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think he's really going to have to shake things up because he falls on his sword as well.
Yeah, that's right. You live and die, but by the sword do you yield. I do think, I think that Benfica needs a championship next year. Otherwise, Rui Costa is shaky. Understanding that there may not be worthy opponent or somebody that we could take serious, and maybe that's the Rui Costa saving grace. But if he doesn't win the championship next year, he's going to be in bad shape because not a lot of people are happy with what he's done. And he doesn't have all the credit that Luis Felipe Vieira has built. Rui Costa has no credit right now. He has
as a president, I think still as an image.
Obviously.
As what got him elected in the first place, right? But
obviously.
I think he's also got to be concerned about the elections that took place up north. I know you kind of alluded to it, but we saw a big change there after 40 plus years of a guy who was almost bigger than the club. He was the club for so long, the image of the club there. So nobody's untouchable, and maybe it scares
But
Rui Costa to making some changes
pardon
here to
my
protect
pardon my
himself.
ignorance. Pardon my ignorance, right? And I don't mean, and I'm not, because Alfredo says the same thing. So I'm no, not come. I just want to understand, right? Because maybe I don't see it the way you guys do, right? Or I don't understand. That's it. But explain to me how those elections um might interfere. What was the word you used, Dave? You said it might. I forget now. They might interfere, or
Might just give him a scare of like
but
changes
why? I'm
that
asking. I'm being open minded. I'm asking
yeah
why. I'm not. Yeah, why? Because it's going to change something at Benfica. You guys think that's why? I'm not being
No,
stupid. I just really want to understand.
no. Dave, give the stats, and then we'll talk a little bit. Give the Braga stats,
yeah
and we'll talk a
just
little
a
bit about that.
quick stats.
All right, so
Marcos
we just could
Leonardo with
close this off.
yeah with
Okay.
Marcos Leonardo with his league leading 6 goal as a substitute, averaging a goal every 40 minutes now for the kid off the bench.
Yeah. So, in terms of the Porto elections, and I've mentioned this in a couple other outlets that I'm fortunate to publicly speak at. I thought that Porto was having the same moment that Benfica had when Noronha Lopes was up. I thought that this was a clean break for Portistas, for the fan base. That despite all the past history and glory and whatever, that they felt that there was time for a change at the club. Um, Financially, the club is in really really bad shape. 2 years intervened by UEFA, or almost intervened by UEFA, but UEFA has them on a short leash. Selling players and not knowing where the money is, the B team signings, um, losing players because they don't have the power to keep players at the club because the players want so much to renewal and they just can't afford it. They've turned their attention to the domestic market because that's all they're able to get. So this to say what? They've been in really bad shape. I think that André Villas-Boas is a breath of fresh air. He's a smart guy. He's a Portista through and through. I think that
Yeah, André Villas-Boas is their was their Rui Costa in terms of being loved at the club, as won the Europa League, whatever. Like you said, Portista since day one. He was their Rui Costa. So when Rui Costa showed up to the elections, you mentioned Noronha Lopes. Noronha Lopes is a guy that none of us knew before. We haven't heard from since,
yeah, but
right?
that's fine
Rui
because
Costa was AVB. Rui
that's
Costa was their AVB.
Noronha Lopes. That's the commitment that he made, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I lose the elections, I'm just gonna respect the voice of the Benfiquistas, and I'm gonna walk away. And you'll never hear from, or you won't have to contend with me, or I won't be the voice of opposition. He said that, so I admired that he said that. I admired that he went through with it. Now, the biggest thing is that let's and I'm gonna say some things that I hate to admit, right? But the biggest thing is that you see Porto behaving in Europe versus the way Benfica behaves in Europe, completely different, right? I think that their DNA, right, and we know what their DNA is, so on and so forth, and there's a little bit of me that is a little bit jealous that Benfica doesn't have that attitude when we play against them, when we play in Europe. Benfica just doesn't have that bite, that grit that Porto has. I think that what's going to happen is that André Villas-Boas is going to take over. He's going to have to unbury all the skeletons, get the club to a point where it's going to be easy to or inviting for investors, for partners to line up with the partner the club and to support the club financially. Once he gets there, and
It'll take years though.
it will take 2-3 years, I think.
Man, more than that, because all the money all the money that they have from TV contracts and
It's
sponsorships
all
and now
been
selling the
advanced.
stadium,
Yeah.
all that money's been advanced. So he's
Yeah.
gonna have to sell this year. He's gonna have to sell the Acosta. I understand what you're saying, but it's not gonna be 3 years. I think it's gonna be longer. I think it's gonna be a little bit longer.
Either way, if it's 3 years, if it's 5 years, whatever. Once
Yeah.
he unearths all the skeletons, he gets the house in order. And look, they're going to suffer. They're going to suffer for a little bit until they get their house in order, because the priority should really be the finances, right? Once they have that in order, and once they're at a level where they can now compete again, they may not have the power to get this guy to buy players for 20, right? But if they're in a good position financially, the banks are going to want to partner up with them. Financial institutions are going to help them with credit. And once they get that going and they're stable and they have their finances in order, meaning the money just doesn't disappear or commissions get paid to this guy or that guy or some other guy, they will be a real threat. I think they have.
But espera
Vai lá.
aí, not to cut you. That's under you assuming, right? And I don't mean to be a wise ass,
Right.
but that's
Well,
you
you're playing
assuming
devil's
that the guy
advocate.
that hold on, but that's you assuming that this guy is gonna be clean as a whistle. That because in football, and I'm not just saying in one club or two, football's club full of shady characters behind the scenes getting commissions left and right. So I'm just saying you're assuming now that he's gonna be clean as a whistle, too. Which I can't guarantee that neither. But I just want to throw that in there. Continue.
André Villas-Boas doesn't need to be the president of Porto, to be honest with you. He's doing it because he's a passionate, rabid fan that
But
loves the club.
They all say that.
I know, but
Luis Vieira said the same thing. And my man was a socio of Porto before he's ever socio of Benfica. They all say, I mean, of course, you know what I mean? When they running for elections, we have to be very careful. They're going to say all the right things. It's because I care. I don't need to. But the matter of fact is that all these guys at every club around the world come in, they might be $50 million in the bank, but when they leave with 100. You know what I mean? It's just like politicians in America. They come in broke and they leave billionaires.
yeah,
So I mean, this is what it is. They're all going to tell you, the right thing.
you're right.
They're not going to tell you.
You're absolutely right. But let's assume, for example, and usually assuming is a very bad exercise, right? But let's say that this guy only wants to revive Porto, to get Porto back to their former selves, where they had buying power, where they had investors, where they had this, where they had that. Put them in a position where they're financially stable and are able to compete. I think that Porto, and obviously this is a perfect scenario, right? Like Cristiano says, we don't know the future. We don't have a crystal ball. But I think that if Villas-Boas becomes what he's appearing to be for Porto in Porto's future, I think that 5-6 years we're going to be very, very in a very, very bad spot in terms of competing with them, because I just think that they have the DNA, they have the grit, they have the attitude, they have that culture, that personality, that cult of personality that they have, that I think that Benfica is lacking.
Them stick calm, man. We need. I think a lot of us are overreacting to this because it's the first change we've seen in our lifetime at Porto, right? I know you were alive before Pete. So was I before Pete Costa came in. We didn't know the ball was square around. So in our lifetime, as far as since we understood, this is the first change. So we're like, oh my God, it's going to be so. But let's not forget, Alfredo. They did whoop our ass, but we had some very successful periods when they had the referees, the bandeirinhas, the cooks, the flower people, the doctors, the judges. They had everybody under control, and we still managed to win title. You know what I mean? They had dominant periods when we were run like a circus. But I just think that, look, let me prove it, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
É tudo muito lindo when it's palavras coming out of the mouth. Everybody, says beautiful things, and it sounds all all wonderful and everything's gonna change. And I'm not saying it's not, guys. Pay attention. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying you're not gonna be correct ultimately, Alfredo. But let me see it. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. I think Benfica could also learn some things. They could also change some things, going forward. But let's just see how Benfica reacts. Let's see what this. How Varanda's won the presidency at Sporting, a doctor with no experience in football, and he's won 2 titles now in 4 years. Nobody ever expected that, right? Nobody ever gave the guy much of a chance. They were just like, "Oh yeah, we'll take him over that lunatic, Bruno Carvalho." Nobody gave a crap about this guy. And look, here he is because of the lackadaisical, BS from Benfica and Porto and whatever Sporting is now on 2 titles in 4 years. So let's see, man. We just have to wait and see. I know that for them, it was a huge step. He did a lot of things right in terms of the way he ran. This whole election stuff and calling for the cops. And look, my man was smart because he understood. He knew what was served naquela casa.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? He knew what they did. So he took all precautions.
Yep.
The other guy, Noronha Lopes, he was naive. And that's not to say that there was any cheating or anything, but he was naive and maybe he should have done things differently. But I just wanted to reaffirm once again that Vilas Boas is like their Rui Costa to them. A guy that is very, very well regarded. He left the club, went to coach in other countries, but always spoke well about Porto, always said he was going to be the president of Porto, always stuck a knife in Benfica's back every chance he could. And that drives the fandom up north, right? Anytime you say anything negative about Benfica, and he's always kept that flame lit. You know what I'm saying? So to them, he was what Rui Costa was to us when he showed up.
Yeah. I get the comparison. I just think that a Village Boy is a lot smarter than Rui Costa, to be honest with you.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
If you hear John Terry speak, you won't think that about him. Dave, you're
but John Terry also isn't the most intelligent human being in the world either. So
yeah. Hey, listen, you're still the captain, right? For many, many years, the national team and the club. So you had to know something. Yeah. Just because he cheated on his wife doesn't make him doesn't mean he doesn't understand nothing about football.
Yep.
But you were gonna say, Dave?
No, I was just gonna say with Village Boys here, it's gonna take some time, like we discussed, and if this rebuild or this retooling of their finances takes as long as we think it's gonna be, and there's some pain up north, it's going to be interesting to see if he can even survive the next election. If we're talking, how long are these for? 4 or 5 years? These terms that they serve.
I think they're usually 4.
Benfica will go in elections in 2025.
Yeah, it's a 4-year mandate.
4-year mandate. So if they don't see any success within these next 4 years, they might return back to the
next year. Next year, Dave.
No, I'm talking about Porto. I'm talking about Porto.
Oh,
I
apologize.
Patience might wear thin with the fan base.
It's going to be a fine line, right? Because I think that along with getting their finances back to some semblance of normalcy, he also has to compete. Unless he comes out and says, "Look, we found 35 bodies and skeletons in the closet. We need some time to clean this up. We're not going to be able to compete next year. Or we're going to do our best to compete, but I'm not making any promises." I don't know if the fan base accepts that, but understanding that they need to rebuild the house before they could be successful again, because if they continue in the same vicious circle, they're not going to get anywhere. I think that a lot of the Portistas have to know that there's going to be a forensic audit, and it's going to be delivered, promised and delivered.
You think he's going to do that?
He has to.
He's going to go through the same guy as Rui did the forensic audit.
Cristiano, that's the only way he's going to be able to buy himself some time is by saying, "Look, I found this house a mess. We need to straighten this out for the sake of our future."
I don't think
that's how he's going to build his credit.
I don't think he has to go that far out because of all the things I mentioned to you before in terms of all the money's dried up. They're going to have to sell Diogo Costa this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to have to look. They do have like Martin Ferran's made his debut against Sporting. He's really good. They do have a couple of kids coming up, but for the most part, they don't have much to sell on that club. And the only valuable assets, Galeno maybe, which I don't even like, but whatever. He's going to go for some money. George Min's working on that. We'll get him at least 40. Jota will go for about 80. So he'll get some money in the books. But again, as I mentioned, in the years coming where their contas are adjusted to expecting this money that's future money is no longer there, bro. So I mean, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they voted for him is because they saw where this was headed. I think they understood that look, the money's flying out the window. There's no money coming in the future, and we're just sitting here spending like drunken sailors. And when I say spending, I'm not even talking about on players. I'm just saying in general with all the other BS they do. And so I think that was one of the wake-up calls was a lot to do with what I'm saying, Alfredo. I mean, I spoke to some Portistas, and that was definitely a concern, man. Like, what are we going to do in the future if we continue down this road and all the money's forwarded? There's going to come a point that unless we're selling players, and we don't have a lot of those players to sell, unless we're selling 2 guys a year, we're going to be doomed because Portuguese clubs need those money. And now, especially like think about it, they sell Costa, they sell whatever, they take a hit, and then next year Braga, right? Braga's got PSG money. Let's not forget that.
Yep.
Braga's got PSG money. And so now Porto has an offer here. Braga, before you know, they're in 3rd place. Okay? And now Porto's out of the competições europeias. How's Porto going to survive?
Yep.
That's what I'm telling. Things aren't as bright as you making them out to be, Alfredo. Things are not as bright as that,
he's
brother.
definitely got his work cut out.
He's got his work cut out
for
him.
sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Before we move on to the Famalicão, let me say goodbye to our PAMA media listeners here. If you want to continue listening to the show, just tune into our podcast, available on all the aggregators. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll talk again next week. All right.
Let me stir up the conversation again. Because I have this conversation.
Vai lá.
No, seriously. Because I don't, and I ask these questions, and you guys know when I'm being honest. I ask because I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to think about these things, right? And like my mind is all over the place. But like you guys are okay with like Noronha, and I'm not saying the guy was a bad guy, none of that. But you guys are okay with him showing up when he did and then disappearing into the dark again and never being heard from again.
Yep.
You guys are okay with that?
I am, because that's what he promised. He promised that if he was defeated, that he was going to respect the sócios.
That's fine, but never showing up again. I mean,
but that's fine. He doesn't want to be an active voice of opposition. I get it, because he feels that's going to divide the club.
I'm not arguing, but I'm just asking these questions, right? But if he's such a diehard and he doesn't want to, he's there for the best of Benfica and if he sees the house burning down, my man's like, yeah, cuatro anos atrás, I said, I couldn't do nothing. So now look, I can't put out the fire. He's just gonna sit on the sidelines watching the house destruct itself.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. Okay, that to me doesn't make much sense. Because if you're a diehard Benfiquista like you and I are, right, where we Dave and the rest of the Freddies, where we lose 5-0, and here we are arguing amongst one another, acting stupid. Well, whatever, we're here, right? Because we love Benfica. And thumbs the cara, thumbs our voice, whether you like what we say or not, whether we even make sense at times. We probably don't, but we're still here because we're Benfiquistas. And now you telling me that, I lost the election, woohoo, I'm going to go and quiet while everything else burns down behind me. That to me doesn't make any sense. And I'm not saying that the guy wouldn't have been a good president. I'm not saying that. I know he's a great businessman. I'll say this much, right? As a businessman, I bet you he's 100 times better than Rui Costa, because the guy was the CEO of McDonald's. Rui Costa was a professional soccer player. That's it. One phenomenal player. The other guy was a phenomenal CEO. So nobody's questioning that part of it, right? But I just have I have a hard problem. I have a hard time swallowing that, just disappear. I mean, what's his name? The other guy lost last year from whatever his name is.
Benitez.
And he's in the Benitez. and he's amongst the fans, and he's active. Look, he was talking this week about the elections, but the guy, he lost, but he still wants what's best for Benfica. And he still wants democracy for Benfica. And he still asks for the statutes to be like the guy. He lost, but so what? You stop being a Benfica. He still wants you to lose.
Yeah, let me hop on here. No, yeah, let me refresh this. See if this goes back. But I mean, we're still recording on our end, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but okay, I still stick by my point, man. You know, where we are.
All right.
When this
should be good.
What are the matchups like?
Sorry about that, fellas. Something happened here on our end. I'm not really sure what, but we should be back. Sorry about that. Somebody's saying
if you guys wanna hear what we just said, which I think was the most interesting part of the whole podcast, you guys go check it out. Listen to it. Go check it out when Alfredo posts it later.
No, I don't know where it cut off really, but we were talking about Famalicao and Dave and Chris was saying how Dave proved his point, which I don't know what it was because I was trying to get the stream back.
It was that. You know, in meaningless games, you're still going to Dave, and Dave's still going about the previous matchups, history between the two clubs, and games that mean absolutely nothing. But we're still devoted, and we're still here, dedicated to Benfica. We didn't turn our back just because it's a shit season like the other guy. He lost and he disappears. I don't know. I just have a problem.
And trust me, there's been plenty of nights that I've said, maybe I don't know if I feel like doing a podcast tonight. There's plenty of nights this season that I just felt, fuck it, maybe we'll just take a break. But no, there's a commitment from all of us and towards you and so on and so forth. Anyway, changes against Famalicão. Does Leonardo get the start or does Cabral continue?
I don't know. Leonardo scored 2 goals, so now he probably won't play the rest of the year. I don't know. That's where you'll see Tankstead in there again.
Roger's still going with that wheel that he spins to see where it lands.
No, he's just gonna go pressing. It's ultra important to press. Boris doesn't like Di Maria because he doesn't press. Thanks, that's the call.
But
Di
Maria has never pressed in his whole life. The thing is that if you're playing under a good coach, the coach figures out a way to compensate for the fact that you have a guy that doesn't press. Right, compensates for the fact that a guy that tries a dribble here and there is going to lose the ball, and a team can counter on us. That's called the defensive transition. You got to have a balanced defensive transition to be prepared to address those situations whenever there's a turnover. That's what a well-balanced team does. Is they're able to do their defensive transition in a way that they could get the team back on the right foot.
You press as one, as a block, as a whole, or no one presses. Because once that collapses, it's a highway. It's an invitation into your own backyard.
Yeah.
So Roger Schmidt needed to adapt. Well, whatever. Listen,
look,
talk about something. Read the Freddies, man. Let's talk about
I wanted to say something here. Somebody said, Gary B said, might we have a better relationship with Porto now? No. Trust me, André Villas-Boas.
Wait, hold on. It was bad before. I mean, didn't our president kiss the hand?
Got a hug.
I mean, it was bad. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, no.
I was just being a wise ass.
The thing is that Villas-Boas is as rabid of a Portista as you're gonna find. I think that maybe the two clubs may have a cordial relationship, but I don't think that we'll have a relationship that'll be any closer than what we've seen in the past 40 years. I very much doubt that. I think there'll be a respectful relationship, but I think that there will still be banter. Porto will still come out and accuse Benfica of being benefited by referees. That's never going to end. And it's not because of André Villas-Boas.
Is Jota Mark staying behind or is he gone?
No,
He's gone apparently.
Jota Marx
I
is
think-
gone. The
Oh,
Chihuahua guy.
so then-
the pit bull from that goes off on the field and kicked the Sporting guy.
Yeah, so
Apparently,
then relations. So you know what, Alfred? Relations might be better
Vitor Bahia
without
is
Jota
going.
Marx. Yeah. Okay.
Look, yeah, somebody was saying that the Famalicao game is pointless. Look, it's calendar. I think that, as we mentioned at the top of the podcast, I think that maybe Roger Schmidt needs to use these games to give more reps to guys that didn't play as much, regardless of whether he counts on them for next year or not. I think that if Benfica hasn't renewed with Rafa, and that's not going to happen. Why do we continue, especially now? Why should we continue?
We're the only club, right? Didn't we do that? Look, I understood it when we were still in the race, but at this point, didn't Benfica push the kid Moreira to the side and Endro and Ender, whatever, all these guys that they didn't resign him? Benfica just stopped playing them. Why? But I think, look, he didn't play last game, right?
Rafa played.
Rafa played and then when the game changed, really, when he got subbed off.
Rafa got subbed off at the 70th minute, and the game changed there.
Well, maybe they're still trying to kiss his ass and trying to convince him to resign.
I think that if there's no intent to sign him at this point, you shouldn't be giving him minutes over guys that are going to be around next year. That's just all I think.
You see what Sheik Marcelino said? Basically, to the T, exactly what I said. Leonardo got carried away with 2 goals. Now we'll serve time on the bench. Thank God we have things.
Got to rest them up for next season. Make sure no injuries happen.
No, are they coming to America? Maybe the tournament in America. They want to pick it up, right? Didn't we win the last one?
The last one, yeah.
Yeah, we were in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we won in what? We won one game and tied a bunch of other games. I don't know how that went. Anyway, let's get out of here, guys. Let's get out of here. I'm ready. I'm ready for this weekend's game. Thank you all the Freddies that were on the chat, very active, and the guys that were watching us silently, just enjoying themselves watching us. Cristiano, always a pleasure. Dave, always a pleasure. Thank you, everyone that's going to listen to this later and that's watched this live. See ya. We'll be back next week. We'll recap the Famalicão game, and we'll look ahead to Portimonense, Dave. That's at Estádio da Luz. Aroca, and then Rio Ave is the curtain closer.
Yep.
2 more podcasts until we do our famous end of the season segment. Take care, everyone. Love you all. Bye.